Ready. And today I want to spend a few minutes talking about social media and the effects of social media on new and expectant parents. And the reality of the situation is that it isn't something that I personally really felt or faced when I had new children, because my kids were born 20 years ago. And so social media wasn't really an issue at the time. That said, I've spent a lot of hours talking with a lot of parents about their experience on the internet. And I'm going to say that while for me, the opportunity presented to meet other new parents or expectant parents through the library, sometimes in doctor's offices, sitting in the waiting room, waiting for appointments, at Leche League meetings, Public Health used to run a program where it was called Calling New Parents, and people could come out with their new babies. There were opportunities to meet one another face to face. And so it was a different kind of environment, right? You know, if I met someone face to face, we got along pretty well, then perhaps maybe we would share phone numbers and make arrangements to get together and have play dates. Let's be honest. When we have little babies, they're play dates for the adults. They're not for the babies. The babies just laid there and hung out together while the parents chatted with one another and had a safe place to be with someone who knew them as nothing else other than this child's parent. And you've heard me talk about that before. I will talk about it again and again and again, because I think that it's invaluable to add a class of friends in our repertoire of people who only know us as being so-and-so's parent. I agree that those friendships from high school are invaluable. Those people we met in university are lifelong friends. Our family means more to us than the air we breathe. But sometimes, in some sets of circumstances, we just need to be our baby's parent and nothing more. And so I encourage you to try and set up these connections. But it's harder to do now, especially in light of a pandemic. You've got COVID-19 going around, and in-person gatherings aren't a thing. So all of our networking and social media connections really are all we have. So we get to know other parents really by the way that they answer questions in different parenting forums that we're on. I recognized when I first started working at this chiropractic and wellness center the value of in-person connections. And so I felt like the community was missing something like that. And I added it to our repertoire here. It was one afternoon a week, we would gather in person. Parents who were already coming into this space because they were seeing the care providers here could come and see one another as just parents here with their kids. We'd meet for an hour or two. Maybe the kids would have some lunch. Some of them would get older and run around. And those parents got to be the mentors for the new ones who would come and have brand new babies or 6-month-old children who they had questions about, and they could ask questions in a safe place. And from there, I developed a social media group, a Facebook group, just for the parents of the people who came into this space. And there were 2 rules. One was that you had to have attended at least one of our gatherings in person so that other parents had met you. And 2, there was no judgment. And there is no judgment. I've never had an instance where I've had to enforce this rule, because when a parent on our forum reaches out and asks a question, everyone else is loving, kind, and supportive. And so they also know that if someone says something kind of nasty or snippy, I may reach out to them personally, and if it continues, they're gone. I don't need that kind of energy in the group. I'm wondering about starting something else like that now on social media, maybe the babyREADY parent group or family group or something like that on Facebook or something like that, where there's a forum for expectant and new parents to chat amongst themselves and get to know one another a little bit, ask some questions, get some answers, but more than that, be heard and respected and listened to. That's so important, and it's so needed these days and all days. One of the things that I see come up often is this feeling that other parents need to defend themselves. It's not uncommon when we go to visit somebody, especially if there's two children in the same space and there's an age spread between them. It's not uncommon for the parent of the older child to be asking if the younger child is doing this, that, or the other thing. And sometimes, really, truly, probably most of the time, the question is benign. But what we sometimes forget is when we ask a question of new parents, that starts digging at that question they've had in the back of their mind. Is it normal that my baby's not doing this? Is it normal that my baby is doing this? Should I be concerned if my baby is? These kinds of things come up and you end up worrying about your child because, especially when it's your first baby or your first pregnancy, it's all new. You've never done this part before. So you don't know if this is normal for yourself, for your peers, for people who've gone down the same similar path as you. And so you question. And when someone else asks you a question, that just digs at your fears. It's important to remember that all of our kids do everything at different times. Did you know that my kids both had teeth, 4 of them, when they turned 3 months old? That's early, but I did too. My kids also, though, didn't talk particularly fluidly until they were almost 3. They could communicate by sign and with one-word answers and stuff like that, but they didn't really speak in sentences until they were almost 3. You can only imagine how many times I had people questioning my parenting because my kids weren't speaking in full sentences or weren't speaking a lot. They'd babble plenty, but they didn't speak a lot. They walked when they were ready to walk. They talked when they were ready to talk. They potty trained when they were ready to potty train, which, let me just tell you, was a lot of fun. My youngest, who is 3 years younger than his older sibling, decided on the day of his big brother's birthday party that he wanted to go diaper free. No more diapers, Mommy. His brother was turning 6, he was almost 3, and I had to respect that. I had always said that I would let my kids take the lead. That was probably one of the more challenging parenting moments for me, running a birthday party and wondering how my 3-year-old was making out without wearing a diaper, but he actually managed very well. But I had to trust myself. I had to trust that the decisions I was making were right for my family. And they were, and it worked perfectly. But just be careful when you ask questions, because sometimes you don't know the worry or the fears or the underlying concerns that have been held in the back of somebody's head. And sometimes, if our kids are older, we forget truly what age our children did things. There are a ton of babies who never crawl. And there are a significant number of babies who never truly speak until they can speak in clear, full sentences. And they go overnight to being able to run down the street where they couldn't walk or even walk with fingers on days before. And sometimes things like that happen lightning fast, and we forget about that. So when we ask if our child, or if we ask if someone else's child is sleeping through the night, are they walking on their own, are they talking in full sentences, are they out of diapers yet, we're passing judgment and we're not intending to. And so maybe rephrase your question. What's new with your baby these days? What new skills have they developed? Let the other parent kind of brag a little bit. And reciprocate in kind. If they've asked you that question, ask them back. You mean well. Your heart's in the right place. Sometimes we forget, too, how quickly changes happen in someone else's child. For instance, I'm sure you can think about a time when a niece or a nephew or a friend's child was seen and then not seen again for a couple of months. And then the next time you saw them, you thought, oh my goodness, that child's so tall, or they're so fair-haired, or they're so chatty, or whatever. They'd changed dramatically in that short period of time, or what felt like a short period of time. And you say that to the parent, and the parent's like, I hadn't even noticed because they were with their child all day, every day. And so they forgot about those things having accumulated over time. Your child will meet their developmental milestones. And I recognize that there are sometimes cause for concern, and there are sometimes reasons why care providers are asking questions when children aren't meeting milestones. But by and large, those of us in the general populace need not ask those questions. We don't need to make somebody feel uncomfortable about their parenting. And really mostly what we need above everything else all the time is just love and support. We need to know that those around us care and want to be a part of our baby's life. So make sure that you keep that in the back of your mind when you're talking to new parents. Let me know, though, if you think that maybe joining a parenting group on Facebook, a babyREADY parenting group, would be something that you'd be interested in. I won't be adding a whole lot of comment to it, probably because I'm not living it as a new parent anymore. I work with a lot of new families, though, and I'd love to have the opportunity for all of you to meet one another, virtually, of course. If you happen to be in the west end of the GTA in Ontario, Canada, and you would like to get together, it is my hope that this spring, 2021, we'll be able to resume getting together outdoors at parks so that parents can meet in person, because I do think that there is a huge amount of value in that. Zoom gatherings with new parents is often hard to facilitate because new parents are caring for babies and children. So let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. You can always leave a comment here on my YouTube channel, after you've subscribed, of course. And then you're welcome to also leave a comment on my contact page on my website, www.babyready.info, or send me an email, babyreadylgbtq@gmail.com. I'm always looking forward to hearing from you and hearing the kinds of things that you want me to talk about. And I love to do the research. If it's something I don't know anything about, I'm more than happy to do some reading about it and to learn more so that I can share what I learn with you. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.